Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Octane's Oracle, the solo cast where I like to talk about the random things in LEGO that I seem to enjoy. And today we're going to take a slightly different approach and focus on collectible minifigure series. Now, these guys have been around since 2010, and I am way old enough to remember these from way back in the day. And what we're going to do is I'm just going to talk about my experiences with them through the years and some of the bits that I find most exciting about them and where I am on them in a modern day scenario. And it's a bit of a journey. It's an interesting one. So here we go. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the audio experience if you want to hear what I have to think about CMFs. Now, firstly, on paper, CMFs sound absolutely great. They're something that I would have absolutely loved as a child, well, and did. 2010 was a long time ago, and they're great, really. I don't mind the blind bag aspect at all, or at least not back then. And to start off back in 2010 with Series 1, these guys were a great deal in the UK. They were only £1. That didn't last long. Series 2, they were already up to £2, but it was something very fresh, something that seemed very modern coming from the Lego group. I mean, now it's just part of their modern layout, but back then it seemed like one of the first signalings of the big evolution that was going to happen over the next 5 years for the Lego group sets. And one day I have to talk about that as well, because that is and also a very interesting topic is that evolution that happened in the early 2010s. And minifigures was one of the first styles or signs of that. Now, I didn't know how to feel back in the day. I didn't even know about the bumps, because there were bumps on these bags back in the day. So Series 1, that was just potluck, and my first ever minifigure was the Series 1 Wrestler, followed by the Series 1 Cheerleader, and that was pretty much my entire experience with Series 1. I also remember back in the day, the Lego Club magazines, they had this amazing teaser for Series 2, so that was always cool to me. The one I wanted out of Series 1 was definitely going to be the Crash Test Dummy, and also to an extent the zombie, but less because I was a fan of zombies and more because it was a wacky figure. So I've always had these slightly strange Lego-centric tastes. Series 2, again, was really great. It was cheap. It was a follow-up. I don't really remember anything about those first two, seeing them in stores or anything, but well, they existed. I think they were just rewards because they were so cheap for me for behaving on a trip or something. I didn't really have any money of my own back then. So, Series 1 and 2, it was all just so novel. Series 3, more of the same. Again, no feeling, no clue how to use the bump codes. That wouldn't change until Series 4 and 5, where there were actually really desirable figures that I particularly really wanted. In particular, the Series 5 Godzilla, the Egyptian Warrior, the Mime, are three that come to mind right off the bat. And at this point, on the bottom of minifigure bags, they were including these little bumps. So I have specific members of me and my dad going into the town, and we have the bump codes printed out on some paper, and we were feeling the bump codes were really unreliable. You couldn't actually tell where they were. There was no clue if they were front or back. Oh, the good memories, and I have so many memories like this, especially with CMFs of going in and getting one of each series. I have at least one from most major series, is the licensed ones being the exceptions. I have a couple, but I'm lacking a lot more. And it up until this year, it was about 6 years since I'd actually skipped a series, but COVID meant I couldn't feel them, so I haven't bought a series since January 2020 now, which is a really shame. But anyway, back to 2011 or so, I think we're in Series 4. Series 5, they got rid of the bumps. And at that point, I think my interest started to wane about Series 6. Like, I really liked Series, I believe it's 6 or 7, the one with Lady Liberty and the Roman and etc. And I still have one from Series 6, Series 7, and then Series 9. But I definitely missed Series 8 and 7. I mean, it didn't help that that coincides with the time when my interest in non-Lord of the Rings Lego was slightly waning. I was less interested as a product and more of a look, I like Lord of the Rings and here's a Lego thing, and that would only be rejuvenated in 2014 with the Parisian restaurant and a couple of other sets, which we'll have to talk about eventually. 2014, I think, is a really pivotal year for Lego as a company and for me as a Lego fan. So we'll have to come back to that one at some day as well. But as far as my chronologically goes, it wasn't until Series 10 in 2013 that I started pretty much buying at least one per series. So series 10, I have the decorator from. No Mr. Gold, although that would be really nice. I was really hoping they'd do Mrs. Silver. I didn't realize how much of a controversy that had been. But series 11, I think, is really where it turns around for me. I bought quite a few from this series. I loved this series. This was a series that I wanted three in particular of and never got any of them of. So I ended up with the waitress and the hiker, as well as a couple of other less desirable ones. But the ones I really wanted were the holiday elf, because this is back in what, 2013, 2014, before the elf winter village, etc., and all that jazz. It was yeah, the holiday elf that I wanted, as well as the island warrior and the gingerbread man. And that was the three desirable Series 11 minifigures that I wanted. And at this point, I was still a couple of months off learning what bag feeling was for minifigures. And we got some interesting stories about bag feeling coming off. But no, the gingerbread man and Island Warrior in particular were two that I was really, really, really desiring for. And I actually went and picked off eBay about a year or two later for double the price, but still only £4. So at this point, minifigure series were probably about £3, maybe. And we're coming into that time where licensed series are introduced. So we're thinking that up first was Lego Movie 1, around this time was Simpsons, and then we're heading into the Monster series soon as well. But I didn't like Simpsons license. I didn't hate it and oppose it like a lot of people, but I'm just not a fan of the show, so couldn't care less. Felt a bit odd at the time, but judging from Lego's movies at the time period, it perfectly makes sense that a more mature license was coming over like that. I mean, it's basically Lord of the Rings, but in cartoon and comedy form, so there's really no problem with it from my eyes. It just wasn't for me. Lego Movie 1, I didn't have a particularly great relationship with. This was coming off the back of, I was very opinionated that movie adaptations of things quite often ruined the thing, so I was very disgruntled at the notion of a Lego movie. It was a brilliant movie, and the movie was great. I had no clue what I was thinking, but I never actually went to see the movie in cinemas, which was shocking, and I never brought any of the series, which again is shocking because the Panda Suit, Abraham Lincoln, the Taco Man. Oh, that was my Series 2 figure, by the way. The mariachi. Oh, we're all over the place today. Um, right, I'm gonna rein this in a bit. So. Yeah, so Series 11, that was great. That's my favorite series of all time. We cannot beat that, mainly because of those two figures. I have such a connection with that gingerbread man. He was my profile picture for a long time here on YouTube. He's very special to me, as you will have seen in some of my other videos recently, talking about dream sets. I love the gingerbread man minifigure. He's so worn, his joints are so loose. But then we move on to Series 12. And Series 12, I was taught how to feel for this one. We met someone in a store that taught me how to feel bags, and well, that changed the game entirely. So that point I was hooked because I was pretty much guaranteed to get the figure I wanted. I have never misfelt a bag ever in the what nearly 10 years since I learned how to do it. And oh, sorry, I had to sneeze there. And in all that time since then, I've never messed up a bag feel. So for Series 12, I felt for the Wizard and also another figure, the Jester. I really like the Jester figure from that wave. And not this, I mean, this was a game changer. You can feel the bags, you can get the pieces you want. Now, this was like the first like adult Lego fanny kind of thing I'd done. Like, I mean, before this, I knew none of the techniques. I knew nothing about the community at all. But for then Series 12 and onwards, I've felt every series and I've never made a mistake. And I think this is definitely where the minifigure collection expands because I could guarantee what I was getting, so there was no more wasted money or no more chances. I mean, just looking at it statistically, once you've got one, there's now a 1 in 16 chance you get a duplicate. So that would have deterred me before, but now, no chance I'm getting it wrong. So we're on the up, and prices were still relatively low as well. So I believe it was still £2.50 here in the UK because Mixels, which was around from 2014 to 2016, were £3, and they were by clear the better deal because they were 67 pieces for a whole character instead of just 5 pieces. But they were still cheaper, so that made them okay. So minifigures were £2.50 here in the UK for at least the entire duration of Mixels a line, which would be till 2016. So let's keep going up. Series 13. Only really interesting thing I remember at Series 13 was one, we're still tying in with the Lego Minifigures Online game, which is a game I did play. And also, at this point, I was still relatively new to the Lego fan community online, at least. So when this thing came out, I was told by word of mouth. One of my friends just came up to me with the checklist and went, "Look what I found in the store the other day." And I went, "What? Another one? That's cool." Why didn't I have any clue it was coming? I had no clue about what the leaks or news communities, nothing. I just remember this very exciting feeling that you only really have when you're a child in the Lego community of, oh, there's more new ones. Once you're an adult, you see the news all the time. It's the news and the leaks. You know what's coming a mile away. That makes it slightly less exciting. But Series 13, it appeared out of nowhere. And also start that trend of those cool food suit characters. The hot dog man was an instant buy for me. To be honest, I'm not really too fed up with the costume suits yet. I mean, some of them I think are getting a bit excessive, like the watermelon guy I wasn't a huge fan of, but ones like the hot dog suit, and in particular stuff like the giraffe for me, I can see is useful because, well, the hot dog, he can be a mascot for a food stand, which has happened since in the friend sets, although I think the collectible minifigure did it best. Same for me with the banana man, and a couple of the animal ones I think are alright as well, like the giraffe. He could easily be a mascot. I'm not quite as keen on stuff like the watermelon. The pizza, that was another absolute genius stroke, but we'll get to him later. Um, but moving on in time, so we got to Series 14, which was the Specialized Monster series, and this is another one of my favorites, probably at least top five. I love this. I wish there was a Christmas one. If you want to see a good idea for a Christmas one, I would recommend checking out Robert 8's Christmas Advent Calendar minifigure series over on Eurobricks. Now, that's a series I would die for to see. Probably should have put that on my dream sets actually, because that would be lovely to see a CMF either Advent Calendar or Christmas series, because they did the Halloween one so well. I mean, the tropes they did were so brilliant, and I'm not a hugely Halloweeny guy, but for someone that just kind of loves the season in general, but not extremely, I loved all like the references and things. I loved the different take on the ghost, although I wish the classic ghost had shown up. But the plant monster, oh, that's a brilliant figure. The I have about 9 or 10 of the series. I love the Spider Queen with that amazing cape. The zombies were kind of meh. Didn't really love the cheerleader or the businessman. They were probably the weakest, but that's because they were so boring in general. But the zombie pirate was alright. Tiger Lady was just weird choice. The fly monster, oh, he was a brilliant callback. I can't remember. Was there? Yeah, there was a Frankenstein rocker. I wish that was just like a classic Frankenstein. I think that would have been better. As I said, I wish a ghost, but I loved having that little pumpkin piece with the skeleton man. Oh, that was a figure I wanted for a while, like an anatomy figure. I know it wasn't properly, but a skeleton suit guy. That was a genius take. No, there was a lot in that series that I really loved, and I had about 9 or 10 of them. And I remember going to different supermarkets to feel them out, buy them, and then opening them in a car on the way home. Oh, I have so many fond memories of that series. And again, they're still relatively cheap, and they were such a unique concept. It seems such like an open thing. We could get a Christmas series, or we could get a another festive season, or we could get some generic civilians and stuff. And they never really went down this road anymore. But I think it still lives for me as one of the best series of all time, and I'm really happy with my collection from that series. I got all the ones I wanted and some more. Never wanted that mad scientist, but he's been profoundly useful since then. So no, just a great series. Next up was Series 15. Series 15 was a less interesting one for me. I think the shark suit guy is all I really remember. I mean, I do like that bottom piece for the Queen. She felt very regal to go with the King from Series 13, but I never actually ended up picking her up. I also quite like the Spy, but again, never bothered to pick him up either. Oh wait, no, he's Series 16, isn't he? The numbers start to blur together after a while. There were quite a lot going on. And I'm not sure if I'm going in order anymore, but I suppose I better talk about Disney Series 1 before I abandon it too far. Um, Disney Series 1, again, was another shock, really. Again, I kind of like the character selection from Disney Series 1. I wish we had more Disney animation sets, and it feels a bit strange to me that four of the slots. I mean, four of the slots had to be taken up by Mickey, Minnie, Daisy, and Donald. But for someone that at the time was absolutely desperate to have the four, but then 9 months later got the Disney Castle, they're the four figures that sort of feel redundant. But again, they're all exclusive outfits bar Donald, so I guess I don't mind. I guess I don't mind. I really don't know. But apart from that, I actually have 8 from this series. So the core four, which I'll come back to in a minute, as well as Buzz Lightyear, the Toy Story Alien, Maleficent, and Stitch. So Stitch is fairly self-explanatory. So is Maleficent. Really, I really like the pieces, and she looks great. I love some of those Disney villains. And then the other two, Buzz and the Alien. I never thought that Toy Story sets would happen again. I'm really sad that I didn't pick up the RC set from Toy Story 4 so that I could get the Woody minifigure to round out the collection. Because it feels a bit weird to have the Buzz and the Alien, but no one else. But that's neither here nor there. The series was a great round of characters. I do think I prefer Disney Series 2 because we had more unique things, bar the triplets. But Disney Series 1 was again groundbreaking. Not one of my favorites, just a nice change, and I do love what they've done with Mickey, starting then and then obviously since. So moving on up, we have Series 16, which was home to the banana suit guy. I'm still feeling the minifigures. That's all going great. I believe this was the price increase to £3. If not, then it was Disney Series 1. But this was the part where I started to question it for the first time. Just coming off the back of the end of Mixels, which I have every single one of, and going, for same £3 I was getting this before, and now I'm only getting this. But at the same time, you get on with it, it's still only £3, and the quality is still there, and there's some interesting characters going on. Around this time, we had Series 16, we had the 2 Lego Batman movie series and the Ninjago movie series. The only interaction I had with the Ninjago series is my love for the cornflake box, which I had purchased off Bricklink back in 2019. Um, that's the only good thing to come out that series, bar a couple of cool prints and exclusive molds. And as for the Batman series, I bought Orca as a impulse buy after watching the movie, and that was my only interaction with it. Would have loved Clock King. He was one that I was interested in because he used the gingerbread head again. But that's neither here nor there. Not a fan of the customized plates for the Batman series, DFB series, etc. I like it when they did it for orange, and I've liked it when they've done it for gold for Harry Potter 20th. And I like doing the different one for the Unikitties, so going for the cloud. Don't understand the white for Lego Movie 2. I mean, I'm really glad the piece came in white. Don't understand why it was there at all. And I didn't love the logoing and stuff they've done since. I kind of wish they'd done silver for 20th, but that's neither here nor there. Moving up, we also had Series 17, which had the weird mystery highwayman, who I liked as a figure anyway. Not sure why he's a mystery, no one ever will know. We also had Corn Cob, and then one of the most infamous ones on this channel would be the Elfin Maiden, who we use as our purest custom Zelda for for those mocks and stuff. So Series 17 was another alright one. The Retro Spaceman stands out. But one that I was very excited to see coming was Series 18, which was to tie into 40 years of the minifigure in 2018. And I think 2018 was another really strong year for the Lego minifigure sub-brand because we would have Series 18, we would have the Harry Potter series, and what was the third one in 2018? Was that Batman 2? Oh, that was Batman 2. Okay, so we're catching up. So Series 18 was one of the 2 series in that year that I think were really quite prevalent, and I was really excited to see a costume series, and I think they did it justice. I mean, looking at it, it's a great lineup. I particularly love the cake suit guy. The dragon was one we need to come back to in a minute, but but no, even they rescued those 2 kids because they gave them exclusive Series 1 minifigure tiles, which were great. Cactus was a nice idea. Race Khan, nice idea. Cat Lady was a bit weird. The Party Clown, I loved his balloon animals with a passion. The Dragon I've mentioned. Who were the other 2 that I actually bought? Oh, Brick Suit Guy. That's a figure that we talked about in my dream set list. He's a figure I've wanted for years. Is a guy dressed up in a Lego suit, and to get Brick Suit Guy and Brick Suit Girl with wearing 2x3 bricks. I just wish they were 2x4 bricks because those are more iconic, or 2x2s. But I'll settle for 2x3s because they're more proportional, I guess. But that was a great unexpected twist. And as for the last one that I actually bought, that would be the the little cowboy guy with the horse. That's such a cute idea. Sticking a horse in between his legs. But the dragon as well, I've wanted so long for a minifigure scale dragon, and owning Smog, this was just the next best step. I mean, I'm excited now that we're getting a dragon without a head hole, which was slightly disappointing back in the day, but you know, still a great series, as I said, really suitable for 40 years. I also really do love the retro cop because I actually own the original cop minifigure, so from the 80s, so that would be absolutely great to have one day, and I'm really sad I didn't get that one. But either way, it was a standout series, I think. And what was even more of a shock was the revival of Harry Potter, and then of course the Harry Potter CMF, which was hugely out of the blue. Didn't expect that at all. And I'm in the community by this point. Like this is not this is not unknown stuff. But this series was great because, well, actually, was it? No, I love the lineup. I love the fact that it happened. It was great to see new ones. It was great to see some Fantastic Beast rep. But between the new sets coming out, the minifigure series, and me having a lot of the 2010 sets, this series was more of a minefield. Now, as far as the distribution goes, all of that jazz, oh, that's fine, great. I can deal with the Percival Graves thing. But I want to particularly talk about my experience here. So, firstly, I was super excited. Secondly came the culling process. So there were a couple that were just easy. I had no interest in buying the Luna Dean Thomas. The stuff like that was out. It was mostly just the iconic stuff I struggle with. So for a fact, the first category I went for was figures I hadn't had back in the day. So in 2010, I had had a Harry, Voldemort, Dumbledore, Dobby, all of that jazz. But figures that I hadn't had were the new Fantastic Beast crew, fairly clearly. You can see why I wouldn't have had those. The movie had only come out a couple of years earlier, and I did love the first Fantastic Beasts movie. So the four main cast were definitely on my list. So I brought all four of those, and they still all have some desire, but we'll get back to those later. And the other one to make the list was who was it? That was a big series as well, 22 figures. See, Mad Eye would have made the list, but he just got culled by one. The other three that I ended up buying were Dobby, Voldemort, and the Dumbledore. And the reason behind the Dumbledore and Voldemort was because for Voldemort, he was Deathly Hallows appearance. We wouldn't be getting Deathly Hallows sets for at least 4 years. I knew that, meaning I wanted a Voldemort now, and he also looked so cool in the new printing. I love that green outfit for him. I really want Voldemort because it's the same outfit. And the Dumbledore because he was such an upgrade over the one I had in 2010. The same eventually came true for Dobby. I picked him up slightly later in that series' release for the same reason, because the 2010 one is cursed in comparison. Wasn't too happy when they released him again in Privet Drive, but again, hey ho. I was not a fan of Hermione from that series. I didn't think she looked like Hermione. They've done a much better job when they got to Year 5 Hermione this time around, but I was really not a fan of that figure. As for the rest of the series, I talked about the Fantastic Beasts ones being a bit of a sore spot because I brought all four of them and then immediately got the suitcase a couple of months later. But again, just like the Disney series, they are different outfits. The Newt's outfit in the series is way more iconic than the one in the suitcase, so that's fine. Plus, an extra niffler never hurt anyone. Queenie is saved for her detail, it being her more iconic outfit, and the strudel. The strudel just saves that figure. Again, the Tina I feel very similar with Newt. Her outfit in the series was way more iconic and came with a hat. And the Jacob one's probably the only letdown, although again that suitcase bit and the cookies inside. Uh, the wands were a great inclusion. They were absolutely fantastic. And that's pretty much all I have to say on that series. The only other thing that happened to me with that series is it's my one of two funny feeling stories. So let's just take a quick trip back to Disney Series 1 for a second. I know we're jumping all over the place, but that's the thing with Octan's Oracle. You come for my experience, not for any form of cohesion entertainment. So, back to Disney Series. I couldn't find Donald. because I'm dumb and I forgot that both him and Daisy have tails. So he was the closest I've ever come to messing up, but instead of messing up and wasting the shocking amount of £3, I backed away and didn't buy him until later when I could be sure, but I couldn't find his hat. So that's the closest I ever came to nearly failing a feel, is not being able to tell the difference between Donald and Daisy. I sifted through maybe 6 or 7 boxes and only found Daisy. I was like, well, this is impossible. I must just be missing it. But no, Donald and Daisy were very similar to feel for. Disney Series 1, I'd actually say, is the hardest minifigure series to feel from, and you can hold me to that to this day. I still struggled the most with that, and I was still a veteran at feeling by that point. But back to Harry Potter Series 1, the funny story I have to tell there is that, well, I nearly got removed from a store for feeling. So I'm feeling up Voldemort, and I'm double checking through the packs. I'm being respectful. I'm laying them out to the pile, not doing anything I shouldn't be doing. I'm not opening them, not being violent with them, not being searched by other customers. But then all of a sudden you see this employee with a radio come out the back and start circling and watching me from a distance, and I'm like, okay then, just act normal. If I act suspicious, they'll be upset. And eventually, give it about 2 minutes, they come over and they go, "Excuse me, what are you doing?" And I'm like, "Oh, I'm feeling the bag, so I know which one's inside, and that way I don't waste my money." And they look at me, and then she goes, "Okay," and she walks away. She radios in, and I can't hear what they're saying. They're mumbling, and then another person comes out, and they're just talking about me from a distance. But luckily, by this point, I found everything I wanted to find, and I walked very fastly off to the tills and left the store forever with my sealed minifigures in hand and everything I wanted. There's a couple of other stories like this actually. I was in WH Smith's once, and the cashier lady wanted to clearly end her shift, and there's me sorting through them all. And as I start feeling them and discarding them, I'm handing the ones I want to the person I'm with, and this lady is just putting the discarded ones back in the box, and then she just removes the box from underneath me, and I go, well, I don't want this one. She's just taking away these unfelt minifigures. Like, nope, I'm wrapping up my shift. You buy what you've got and leave. But that's not to say all my minifigure reactions aren't negative. I mean, I remember the negative ones because they're funny to me and they build up a huge part of my relationship with the Lego community. But I've met so many just non-fan parents before and had so many nice chats with them while I've taken half an hour to feel up minifigures. I've felt up minifigures for other kids before. I've had talks with parents about CMS, talks with parents about Lego, talks with parents about why I, I'm still a fan of it. Oh, it's been I've had some great interactions over the years and some very bizarre ones too. But I thought we'd take that little detour. But back to our chronology, we're heading into 2019, where the first big minifigure change happened. The prices went up and the bags increased in size. In a slightly eco world, this was a big shock, and we started off the year with the Lego Movie 2 series, which, as someone that very much enjoyed the Lego Movie 2, this was a great series. However, did I really buy it for Lego Movie 2? No. So I ended up with 6. I ended up with the crayon, not because I like the crayon, but because I really love that 2x2 tile that she's holding. It's just hilarious to me. I can't explain why it's so funny. It just is, and I've used that tile in so many mocks since then. And the giraffe, because I really like the giraffe suit guy. As for the rest of the series, I said I brought 4 more, and those was a Wizard of Oz 4, which was just really for the sake of the movie. I'm not a Wizard of Oz fan, but I do love the what that movie gave to the world, and the 4 figures are absolutely amazing, and I'm really glad that I have them. Really makes me wish I had the flying monkeys, to be fair, which is never a good thing because when I want a minifigure, I generally end up getting the minifigure eventually. So, flying monkeys, beware. Um, but the Lego Movie 2 was an alright series. Again, a regular number. I had some interactions with some more staff in there, but they were friendly staff. They actually helped me feel. The rest of the series was alright. Kind of wish I could have got some more, but I like the white stands, just not quite sure where they were included. Moving later into 2019, we had Disney Series 2, and Disney Series 2 was a great one. I wish I had more from Disney Series 2, to be honest. So I ended up getting Jafar, Hades, um, and a couple of others. Jafar, Hades, eh? Jafar, Hades. There's 2 more. This is not hard at all. I should know these. This is really bad. I apologize. Not the ducks. I was a bit upset they repeated the ducks. I was not happy with Steamboat Mickey and Minnie because it meant that the ideas rules were out the window because they clearly did those pieces for the CMF series or shoved them in afterwards to give them a use in the ideas set. I would have liked to have bought, even though I had the Steamboat and the Chrome versions of that Mickey and Minnie, I would have loved to have the CMF version just so I could make a purist epic Mickey minifigure using my 2016 and 2019 pieces. So that's one I wish I would have bought. As for the rest of the series, I believe that I picked. Oh, it was Skellington and Sally. I love The Night Before Christmas. Absolutely loved the opportunity to pick up Jack Skellington and then also Sally. They're both great figures. The introduction of the Sally hair was also a great piece. I love Skellington's present box and all of those snowflakes. It's all great, those two. Wish I could have picked up Hercules to go with Hades. Would have been great, especially for a mock that's upcoming on the channel. Also, wish I picked up Anna and Elsa. Really regret that one, considering they're not coming in the Frozen Ice Castle D2C. It's a mini doll set. Very upset with that. Really wish I had Anna and Elsa, actually. They're probably some of my White One minifigures that I really should have picked up. I had them right there in my hand, didn't do it. Same with Hercules. So that's kind of frustrating, but at least I got Hades, who is one of the best Disney villains. So, Disney Series 2 was better in Series 1 in my opinion. I liked a lot more of the figures. It was really iconic to get a second one, and I really hope we get a 3, particularly with an Oswald or Sorcerer Mickey. So that was Disney Series 2, but moving into the later year, we've got another top 5 figure series for me, and that was Series 19. And Series 19 was an underrated mix, I think. I think there's quite a lot of good ones there. I particularly like the inclusion of the Monkey King in a unique outfit before the Monkey Kid sets. But the 5 I actually bought were the Explorer because I love adventurers, and that was a great Johnny Thunder go back to. Also, Chameleon's another thing that I've wanted for a long time in Lego, and I'm really glad that we got a non-Pascal mold. I also have the bookshop version for anyone that's curious. I also got the shower guy because I think it's funny and I love the green duck. I'm going to sneeze again. I also ended up with the pizza suit guy, which is another great figure. And I also ended up with the Bounty Hunter, which is another one of my all-time favorite CMFs. He looks so cool, great Blacktron reference. He looks really menacing, but also really skilled at the same time. And then the 5th and final one that I picked up from that series was the Fright Knight, because again, the reference, and also because I really like the color scheme and the Under Armour printing of the knight. Not to say the rest of the series wasn't great, particularly fond of the Flamingo with the Gardener and a couple of other choices, although the Firewoman Mountain Biker I did not understand at all. But we move into 2020, and this is sort of almost the end of our story. So before we do, there's one series I've missed, and that was the exclusive to Britain series, Team GB, way back in 2012. This was a series I loved the concept of. I wish they did one for every Olympics, and I mean I can see why they didn't. Mr. Gold caused enough controversy. But as a Brit, this was great. I only got one, and yet again, it was another weightlifter, which I have like 3 of in my collection, which is great. Really love that. Why did I have to get the same one? Love the exclusive print, love the rarity, and particularly love the medal. This was a great exclusive, and I'm really happy that this existed. I think this was just great, really. So I'm really pleased that it was a thing. Yeah, it was a thing that was nice. Anyway, back to the story as we're starting to drag on here, and this is becoming a bit more of a podcast than just me talking. So let's get into it. So 2020 is a bit of an infamous year. We start off the year pretty normally as far as minifigures go with the DC series. Not a DC guy. Not at all. Liked the inclusion of the Batman comic, but hated the Batmite, so not going to buy that. Didn't care for the first appearance of anyone. The 2 I was interested in was Mr. Miracle because he was so colourful and his capes looked interesting, and also the Joker, but I already had a Joker, but this Joker was cool and he had candy floss, so Joker. I had the roller coaster, so I don't know why candy floss was a defining factor at all, to be honest, but hey, they were 2 figures, but the reason I excused myself into buying 2 in the first place is because of the poser pieces. At the time, no clue they were going to come in like 1,000 sets, and I'm really glad they do. But I love that piece. It's so dynamic for minifigures. I'm so glad it was included. So I now have 3 of those, which is great because it's a really useful piece. I've used it in every single mock I've done from that moment onwards. So again, you can see why I have a soft spot for the DC series. I also love the packaging, actually. The packaging was great for DC series. Wish we got a Marvel one in the same style instead of the Disney Plus series, which is coming. But that's, again, besides the point. Also, we had Unikitty. That kind of sucked. Didn't care for that because you couldn't feel them. We also had, oh yeah, we're coming up to that, but we'll get back to that in a minute. The rest of the series of the summer 2020 sets has been marred by COVID. So Series 20 was the first figure series in 6 years that I have not bought one of, and that's purely because of COVID. Love Green Brick Suit Guy, love the llama. I can't even remember the series. The Diver was another great shout. And there was another one as well, but I don't think I'll ever remember it now. The series has failed me in the regards of I couldn't go get it, I couldn't feel them, and they weren't good prices on Bricklink to me to buy them. Now, that's not to say the same for Harry Potter 1, Harry Potter 2 even. I was not going to let those go. I wanted Bellatrix and Kingsley because those were figures I dreamt up since playing the video games back in the day. And I also wanted the Dumbledore to go with my other Dumbledore. I didn't know that they were about to go on a Richard Harris spree the next year in the Fork set and the Chamber of Secrets set and everywhere else in between. But I wanted that outfit in particular to go with my other Dumbledore, one that I can't remember the actor name for, and I also wanted the Hermione because it was an accurate Hermione, and the Butterbeer piece was also pretty cool. But I only ever ended up with the Hermione and Albus because I bought them off Bricklink when they were cheap enough, and Kingsley and Bellatrix were too desirable to go cheap. So that's really sad. It's another great series that I've missed out on, and that trend continued into 2021, where I missed out on series 21, I believe, started off the year. Would have loved the Castaway from that series as well as the Beekeeper were the only two I wanted. Not a fan of the going down to 12 at all because the licensed series that are going to come in the future are going to lose out big time. There's more than 12 in most of those places, although Looney Tunes is the exception. Not happy with 12. Not happy with the price increase at all. If they go up in price, I'm not buying any until they make a Zelda series. That will be my one exception. Anything I'll be buying off Bricklink from now. I just can't do it. Series 21 was a pretty big letdown for me, apart from those two figures that I mentioned. Video Series 1, not a huge fan, although Video Series 2 is a lot better standing in my opinion. Hate the boxes. That's a doomsday sign. If they ever go cardboard for CMFs, I'm done. um, but as for Looney Tunes series, not a fan of Looney Tunes, so really couldn't care less. But I did watch a bit of Roadrunner and Coyote when I was little, so Roadrunner's probably one I'll pick up eventually if restrictions ever lift and I can go feeling minifigures. However, COVID was not the end of my minifigure story because there's one crucial thing I have not mentioned, and that is the Mario blind bags. Now, I'm not going to touch too deeply on why I love these because I want to do that as a future episode of this show, along with 2014, 2020, and the rest of it. But I love the Mario blind bags. They're so cute. I bought them even before I had Digital Mario, and I will buy at least one from each series afterwards. And I actually do just buy them blind. I just pick the first one off the shelf, although I did feel my Series 1 one. So I have Urchin because I wanted Urchins. I thought he looked cool. Then once I brought the actual Mario, I bricklinked the bomb, and then I brought the Poison Mushroom off Amazon for Series 2. Now, I didn't choose Poison Mushroom. I wanted one of the other ones, probably Thwimp or something, and I'm going into the stores in a couple of days' time, so if I spot some packs, I might try and feel for Thwimp. But uh, they were just so cute, I had to buy them. I only have a couple, but I love them. I will buy one from every series because they're so cute and I love them. So, um, yeah, CMFs. I turned into a Mario character pack collector at the end there. As for the future, really not fussed. Pretty hyped for the Marvel series, to be honest. Original series have kind of lost my interest, apart from the one or two interesting figures each time. I'm kind of in it for the licenses. As I said, would love Disney Series 3. Would love a Christmas series, would be nice. I would also love a Zelda series, just going to put that out there. Or a Lord of the Rings series. They all feel possible to me. I kind of like those. Uh, but anyway, thanks for watching if anyone's still here. I really doubt it. I love talking to this camera. I like sharing some of my thoughts. And there'll be more in the future. Stay tuned because they're going to vary in length. This one's a long one. There'll be some short ones. There's a couple of little cute stuff I pointed out in 2020 sets, which if I don't get to stream soon, I'll do a Octane's Oracle on. And come back next week. Bye!